Welcome to Global Information Security Society for Professionals of Pakistan.
Okay. Hi everyone. This talk is actually about artificial intelligence-enabled deception, the future of cybersecurity. May I request all of you to kindly mute your mic because it creates sometimes an echo on my side. And I'm very thankful to the Global Information Security Society for Professionals of Pakistan. They have actually provided an excellent path and also a medium for Pakistani professionals to come forward and to discuss their security issues and problems. So this is a wonderful actually way of sharing information. Can you kindly please mute? Okay. So first of all, a little bit about the speaker's introduction. My name is Muhammed Masoom Alam, and I'm leading the Cybersec Lab at COMSATS University Islamabad. Can you all please mute because there is a band flow on my side.
अस्सलामुअलैकुम मासूम साहब, आप सबका माइक म्यूट कर दें अपनी तरफ से, आप कर सकते हैं।
अच्छा जी, मैं एक सेकंड में इसको
सबके माइक म्यूट कर दें प्लीज।
जी मैं कर रहा हूँ, एक सेकंड। म्यूट ऑफ 7 3 काउंटर 7 दैट्स फाइन जी, ठीक है। Okay, Ji. So, first of all, a little bit about the speaker's introduction. My name is Muhammed Masoom Alam, and I'm leading the Cybersec Lab at COMSATS University Islamabad. A little speciality about my work is that beside research publications, I'm actively working in the industry. So, trying to solve their research problems as well. Particularly, I've worked with Trillium Information Security Pakistan, and we have developed a distributed deception platform, which is actually currently in place in Sui Nadran, in Bank Al Habib and Bank Al Falah as well. We are also working currently with OneLink to have a threat intelligence solution, external threat intelligence solution for Pakistani banks. And we have developed an app as well, which is actually integrating the IBM Q Radar with our TI solution. That is our threat intelligence solution. Beside that, I also have some working experience with WAN clouds as well, for Cisco and for IBM, and also like worked in the OpenStack and cloud security domain as well. Three my notable students, Ms. Sobia Arshad, she actually graduated from the SEEKS, and she's working in my lab. She actually helped me a lot in organizing all these slides. Also, two students from KP, Muhammad Haider Ali Khan and Muhammad Kavish Ali Khan. They are the undergraduate students, but they are also working in the lab since 1 year now, and they are also working on the deception technologies. So with this introduction now, actually, I'm moving with the session instruction. So thank you very much, Shahzad Subhani Saab. You instructed also to mute all the connections. And also thank you very much as well for instrumenting this talk. So this medium is also bringing forward a lot of knowledge to Pakistani professionals as well. And I'm very thankful to you for giving us a chance over here. What we will be discussing today. So basically, we will be discussing about the introduction to deception. What is deception and how it is actually taking up the momentum in the cybersecurity, because in cybersecurity there are multiple fields. We have incident response, we have offensive security, we have SOC, we have multiple areas, actually network security to include as well. So deception is not a new concept, but it is actually getting momentum because a lot of products are coming in the market with the category as distributed deception platform. Then we will also be taking a look at the deception infrastructure. So what exactly deception infrastructure means? This actually means that what are the main things in the deception infrastructure, and how deception infrastructure is important for the cyber security. Then we will see the role of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is actually now, like as per the Gartner, in the coming years, artificial intelligence will be like electricity. So everything that you can see now, or you can feel, or you can talk about, will have the flavor of artificial intelligence. So that is actually the main thing. I mean, we cannot live without electricity, so we will not be able to live without artificial intelligence. So we will have the artificial intelligence in autonomous cars, in drones, and in cybersecurity. So artificial intelligence is actually a differentiating factor in all fields of cybersecurity, right? So we'll be looking at the particular field of artificial intelligence called reinforcement learning, that how it is actually helping cybersecurity to have more autonomous cybersecurity systems. Then we will have the AI-enabled deception infrastructure. So once we have the little bit knowledge about the artificial intelligence-enabled deception, we will also take a look how it is actually helping the infrastructure technologies, how it is helping, for example, the deception orchestration, like how can we orchestrate the different technologies used in the deception with the help of artificial intelligence. And in the last, I would like to mention a very important project that is going on in my lab called quality attacker engagement. So we are also working on some research ideas as well in order to compose the deception services through deception orchestration and using the artificial intelligence, and followed by the question answers. So one thing which I want to mention, that I'll be taking all the questions after the talk, so you can note it down in the chat, and inshallah after the talk I'll be glad to answer all of your questions. First of all, we start the talk with the introduction to deception. What is deception actually? So I just want to actually give you the deception from psychology point of view. I mean, this is not something from the cybersecurity. So deception is the study and manipulation of someone's belief. So, I mean, somebody's belief, and somebody is hiding something from you, but you are actually deceiving him to get that information. So as per the definition, in order to entice that someone to do something, like you have the knowledge that somebody is a malicious actor and you want him to do something, but in order that he perform that action, you entice him, right? That he or she would not do if that certain belief was not there. So you have to make an attacker believe on something, that this is a real environment. That is actually, I'm now turning to the cybersecurity, that what exactly deception is. So deception is actually the study and manipulation of someone's belief. You believe him that this is an actual environment and do whatever you want. I also have given a picture over here, which is actually showing that how you are going to catch the rat. So this is also showing that this is a kind of deception which is used to catch the rats. Then also deception from the history. I mean, deception is not a new concept actually. For example, I would like to refer to the to very popular movie from Brad Pitt. The movie name was Troy, and if you remember that there was a war that was going on between the two sides. I don't exactly remember. I think one was the Achilles and the other was the Heidker, and the war was going on, and the Trojan horse was actually used to actually have that city back, because the army which was in the in the walls, that was actually winning the war. So they used a Trojan horse actually. So Troy was the perfect example of the deception which the army was creating. You can see in the figure as well. I mean, there is a tank over here, but the tank is not an actual tank. And I think 4 people are actually holding the puppet of the tank. So this is also another example of the deception which is used in the warfare as well. So deception is an age-old strategy that is used in 2 scenarios when the opponent in battle have undeniable superiority. So you can see in cybersecurity, the opponent has undeniable superiority in strength overview, right? And to save the resources in the battle to win a war. So in the light of above statements, deception is a very relevant strategy for the current cyber warfare arena. So we have to use the deception in order to uncover the campaign that is actually going on against our organization, against our country, against our any other infrastructure. So we have to uncover that that campaign through deception. Terminologies in deception that will be used. So we have the most we have the baits, the lures, and breadcrumbs. These are the 3 very basic terminology that are used in the deception. First of all, baits or lures or breadcrumbs are either false information planted in the system or assets, services, platform that act as a bait. So you try to attract the attacker by posing some services in your network that acts like actual services. So those services actually lure the attacker. I mean, the attacker can be from inside or the attacker can be coming from the outside as well. So for example, in our university, I mean, bring your own device is a very common phenomena. In our university, every student is actually allowed to come with his or her mobile phone, and nobody knows like who has in the mobile phone, which application is installed, or even if the mobile phone owner don't have the malicious intention, maybe somebody else has installed something on his mobile that actually launches a DDoS or anything. I'm just giving you an example. So how in that case you can control or you can mitigate the insider attacker in that sense. Second terminology is the honey token or the beacon. Actually, a honey token or the beacon is different from the lure or breadcrumb. It is actually an alerting mechanism which is embedded in the breadcrumbs or in the baits for the incident response team. So for example, I can have a beacon inside an image or in a document, in a PDF or in something, and I can locate that where exactly that document is, which IP is accessing, what is the location, and multiple system information. Even the browser cookie and some other information can also be located through the beacon as well. So many companies like TrapDocs, for example, they are using these beacons to have the document security. One more thing before I continue, like in this presentation, I'll be mostly quoting the leading cybersecurity companies which are working in deception. So I'll not be actually talking anything about the research or the research papers actually, but I'll be talking all those solutions actually that are in the market or that are actually leading the deception cyberspace in cybersecurity. Then we also have the terminology of a honeypot or decoy. Decoy is a more modern term to represent a honeypot. And there are slightly different terminologies as well. I mean, somebody says that a decoy is a high interaction honeypot. Somebody says like there are low interaction honeypots as well. Also, as per the company's definitions, there is a change in even the definition of lures and baits as well. But we will be following the standard definition, which is given by El Calvio, which is, in my opinion, is leading this deception arena. So honeypots and decoys are the fake systems or software or services that look and act real but are fake and serve no other purpose than to deceive the attacker to think that he has gained his access or accomplished his task. Similarly, lures and breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are actually the initial points that you are actually putting in the network to get to the attacker to a place in the network where you have actually all the honeypot services running. So, for example, you can have a breadcrumb as a company document. You can have a breadcrumb, for example, a putty credential, right? You can have a putty credential in one of the computers that is easily exploitable, right? A Windows machine, for example. And you just double click that putty credential and automatically you get the SSH credentials for a machine that is actually taking the attacker to the honeypots that are located in a separate VLAN, for example. Then I also mentioned that there is actually a difference in terminologies as well. So some companies have made a distinction between terms like breadcrumbs and baits, but as they serve the same purpose of misleading the attacker, so we have defined them as the same term. So there is no difference between a breadcrumb and the baits. Deception in cybersecurity. Deception concept or strategy was first introduced in cybersecurity in the form of honeypots. And honeypot is nothing but just a bait and trap mechanism for actually capturing the attacker. And we can have any type of decoy as well. So, for example, if you have MySQL service running in your organization, if you have an HR system, for example, you can have the complete copy of that HR system as well running as a decoy. You can have a Windows high interaction machine as well, which is in your network actually. Its application has been evolving since then and shaped into current deception components. So now we have more advanced concepts in deception. We don't have only honeypots, but we have many other concepts like breadcrumbs, the lures. Also, we have the artificial intelligence as well as a differentiating factor for creating these lures and breadcrumbs, and also the deception services as well. Importance of deception. I mean, I'm talking to almost all the cybersecurity professionals, which are actually trying to close all the doors. So, I mean, they allow only the people who are actually allowed to come in the organization. They are sitting on the firewalls. They are sitting on the IDS, on the IPS. So, deception seems a very, I would say, different or disrupting. Disrupting will be, I think, a very good word to describe the deception, because you are allowing the attacker to come inside the network, which is against the principle of any cybersecurity professional. I mean, you are trying to block them, right? But what is deception? Let's see at what Chief Deception Officer of Ativo Network says. So a fundamental problem with the traditional detection technologies as well as the cybersecurity professionals is that they are designed, or they are taught in different the certifications to stop once they have detected an attack. Unfortunately, what we think as an researcher and as well as the deception companies, when you only block an attack, you don't get the opportunity to study it. Yes, you stop it from coming in, but you are not learning from it. Valuable information is lost. So information that can be critical to quickly eradicating the attack and preventing the attack from returning. So, I mean, the point here is that when you block an attack, so you actually stop something or some information that is flowing in your organization. That is the main concept of deception. So you try to lure the attacker. you try to learn from the attacker what exactly that attacker is after, right? So this is the basic concept. I mean, another point which I have learned as a researcher is that it is very difficult to stop the attacker. I mean, the only way to stop the attacker is the air gap computers. Otherwise, I mean, somebody will bring in the mobile, or I mean, there are very secure organizations as well, and I'll not say that security measures are failing, but by and large, there are always social engineering or other factors as well that people come. So basically, it's always good to uncover the campaign as well, and that's why the phenomena or the notion of deception is coming along. Gartner, another trend-setting organization that is also publishing a lot of very valuable information as well. By the way, I mean, this is a kind of different thing that a person from academia, actually, he has got a lot of attribution and credits for the Gartner, actually. So Gartner also has multiple documents on deception. They also say that deception as an automated response mechanism as well. So they are also pursuing or also encouraging the idea of distributed deception platform. In fact, the distributed deception platform terminology is actually devised by Gartner. They have actually defined a lot of features of the DDP as well. Contributions of deception in cybersecurity. We all know the MITRE ATT&CK framework as well, which is a very well-known threat intelligence framework for looking into the attacks that are going on in the organization. So when you divert an attack into a space away from the production environment, as I said, like you try to lure the attacker in the deception. So deception provides a unique opportunity to study the attacker inside the system. So what exactly this study means, how we can study the attacker. So, I mean, the standard mechanism, I would say not a standard, but a de facto standard. De facto standard means like it is not a standard, but many people are actually using the MITRE ATT&CK framework for categorizing an attack. So TTPs, the tactics, techniques, and procedure. The word tactic actually defined a very high level category. So for example, the attack is the privilege escalation and defense evasion. Then technique is a more generalized form. So you can have a hooking and DLL sideloading. For example, you notice from a malicious file that is doing this thing, or somebody has dropped a payload in your decoy actually, and that is performing in privilege escalation as part of the tactic. That is also doing hooking and DLL sideloading as part of the technique. And then a more fine-grained procedure, that is the import address table hooking and inline hooking, that is actually performed by that malicious file. So you actually look at the attacker behavior, at the malicious binary, and then try to devise the TTPs, the tactics, techniques, and procedures. And I just mentioned them that basically this terminology of tactic, technique, and procedure is actually given by Gartner, by MITRE ATT&CK framework. So contributions, again, we can transform the gained knowledge. So whatever knowledge that we are getting from the attacker, so we improve our security and also our security operations center as well. And another important point is that deception as a whole process slows down the attacker as well, because you give him different breadcrumbs. You feed the attacker with the misinformation. So this is also a way, for example, I mean, I just want to mention one solution over here, that TrapX, which is a very well-known company in deception arena. They provide a solution for ransomware as well, which is a big headache for many organizations actually. So they provide a solution when they actually provide in the network some easy network shares. So whenever a ransomware is going to we all know that ransomware actually infects the system and then look for the network shares. So they actually provide easy network shares in the Windows machine. And once they detect this thing that that somebody or some malicious file has actually copied itself to a network share, after that they actually have few hookings that are done in the Windows kernel, Windows actually. So for example, if an excessive amount of crypto call is done, so they actually judge this thing that a file is doing. So now once they have this information that they have the ransomware on the network, they actually call the incident response team, and actually what they are doing is that they are giving very big files, very big fake files to the ransomware to encrypt. And because the ransomware is taking too much time in encryption of those files, the incident response team get the time, and this way they slow down the attacker. And that is a major contribution of deception in cybersecurity. Now let's move to our second thing, deception infrastructure. Deception infrastructure, as per the Alcalvio, as I mentioned in the beginning, that they are leading this space, and they have a lot of artificial intelligence enabled features as well. So we have the decoys and lures as part of the deception infrastructure. Breadcrumbs are lures. Now I'm going into more detail. We will be actually focusing more on the breadcrumbs or lures. And now in this section of the presentation, I will also be discussing what exactly artificial intelligence can play a role in breadcrumbs or lures generation or updation, or for example, fake documents creation as well. So breadcrumbs and lures, as we studied in the past slides as well, are clues for a potential attacker. So these clues create a false trail that leads attacker to decoys and traps actually. And there are actually 4 types of breadcrumbs. I've taken these 4 types from the Alcalvio. So first of all, they say that there is a credential and active directory breadcrumbs lure. So for example, you can have passwords or hash injection. You can have the Windows credentials manager as well. You can have the password managers as well. Similarly, you have the file and data breadcrumbs. You can have fake document, logs, databases. Network breadcrumb means that you have a type of high interaction honeypot in your network, and that is doing some false communication on the network. Similarly, you can have some, for example, a system and which is easily accessible to the attacker. And then you also have the ARP table modified. So you are actually pointing to some IPs and you are trying to fake the attacker as well. Similarly, we have the application breadcrumbs. So we have the SSH and the RDP credentials or the web history, cookies, stored password, and bookmarks in the browser. Decoys and honeypots are also part of the deception infrastructure. So we have different types of production honeypots or decoys. So we have production honeypots. For example, you can have a CRM system and you want to detect an insider attacker as well. So you can have a copy of your CRM system or your HRM system. Similarly, you can have research honeypots as well. Many people actually have the honeypots employed as research honeypots as well. So they gather the data over a big period of time. So for example, over 1 year, for example, and then they try to see what types of attacks are actually being performed. So a lot of threat intelligence providers actually, they have this type of approach. Then we have the physical honeypot as well. You can have a physical system. You can have a virtual honeypot as well. Yeah, meaning like you can have a virtual machine that is actually mimicking some service. Okay, so the decoys and the honeypots, we try to emulate the services, and also an important aspect in the emulation of these services is the level of interaction. So we can have pure honeypots, We can have low interaction honeypots or high interaction honeypots. High interaction honeypots generally refers to a complete service that is acting as a honeypot. In our quality attack profiling, I'll be describing a project that is going on in my lab, in which we have a complete Linux system behind an SSH proxy, and we have embedded the artificial intelligence agent in the proxy. So at some point in time, the artificial intelligence agent is actually interacting with the attacker and giving the responses. So for example, if attacker wants to go to a certain directory and that certain directory is not present in the Linux system, so at runtime we can create the directory and gives the attacker an impression that you are in that directory, right? We try to get maximum attacker information as well. So I'm just actually giving you a more detailed view that there are different levels of interaction in the systems that are actually implemented as part of the decoys. So all pure honeypots are high interaction, but vice versa is not true. So this means that, I mean, these are the variety of definitions that you will see in different companies. They have different definitions. So you can have a low interaction honeypot, you can have a high interaction honeypot, you can have a research honeypot as well. Now, one more important thing, which is very important when we see the deception as a new field in cybersecurity. So what are the components of the successful deception? The first one is the understanding of the opponent. So deception is only successful if we know the attacker's expectation are about our production environment. For example, attacker knows the MySQL needs a login. This means that, for example, if attacker is after a MySQL database, so we need to have, for example, as per the Gartner, this is that there should be 10-to-1 ratio. So, for example, if you have one asset in your network, you should have at least 10 decoys for that asset. This is the standard way, but not in practicing. You can have 10 decoys, 10 MySQL decoys for one production system. Second is actually the engineering of the information. So you have to manipulate the environment as well, so that you try to get the attacker's expectation as much as possible. For example, you have to mock a login in the deception. You can have fake users in the Active Directory as well. So you engineer the information, and in a way that you create multiple fake logins in your Active Directory system. Believability of the information, and thank you, Ms. Sobia. She has given a very good picture over here as well. If you can see this picture over here, you can see that, I mean, apparently this person is actually attacking this person with this knife. But if you actually just focus on this red circled image, so you can see that the foot of the forward person is actually showing as a knife, and the second person is actually seems as the victim. So that is actually the believability aspect. You try to believe the attacker that this is a real environment. If we cannot create this believability of information, there is a less chance that attacker is going to give us the real intention, what exactly the attacker is after. The second thing is the subtleness of the information. So deception only works when the attacker does not suspect that the environment is manipulated. We have to give the information, the real information, and we have to couple it with the fake information. So for example, we have all other users of the MySQL. I would like to give an example. For example, Fidelis, this company, we were actually taking a demo from them. So they were saying that we have, for example, 3 users. The 2 of the users will not work. I mean, for example, 2 putty sessions will not work, but the third one will work. This is the subtleness of the information, that you try to believe the attacker that this is a real environment and not the fake information. So in a nutshell, you have to combine the fake information with the real information in order to entice the belief of the attacker. So these components are independent for better understanding of the opponent, and this will help in better and more effective engineering of the information. Believability is directly proportional to the engineering of the environment. So whenever directly proportional means that how much believability you want the attacker to have on your on your environment, you have to increase the engineering of information and subtleness of information in your network. Now, artificial intelligence, that is the main point of this presentation as well. Just wait a second, I just take a glass of water. Thank you. So artificial intelligence, basically, as I mentioned in the beginning, Gartner says artificial intelligence is like electricity. And it's a field of computer science that emphasizes the development of computer systems able to perform just like humans. So the way humans can behave, the humans can talk, or the humans can understand. I mean, all of us are actually knowing the fact that, for example, autonomous car is now a reality. Drones are actually, we the Pakistanis, we are very well aware of drones as well. So drones are also the way they are actually coming or attacking or coming in swarm, for example. So that is also a reality in itself as well. So similarly, in the cybersecurity as well, this artificial intelligence is taking the pace, and the ability of the computer systems to perform tasks which are normally associated with the human intelligence. Now, what exactly, I mean, artificial intelligence is not a new field. I think it exists from 1980s as well, just like software engineering. So artificial intelligence is there. What is unique about artificial intelligence? First of all, just take a look at the artificial intelligences. So we have the artificial intelligence as a big subset or set. Then we have the machine learning, and then we have the deep learning. Why now? Artificial intelligence existed before as well. So we had actually expert system, if you remember. We have robotics as well that existed before as well, and Prolog and these languages were used to design an expert system as well. These artificial intelligence languages. Now, machine learning is actually supervised machine learning or unsupervised machine learning. And then we have the deep learning as well. So now as the processing power of the computers are increasing and we have more and more data available, we can have the deep learning as well. So deep learning, the basic principle actually stems from the neural network. So you have your brain, the way neurons are working in our brain, they are mimicking the same way how it is working. Now, the types of machine learning, I told you about the supervised learning and the unsupervised learning. And now we have the third form. I want to emphasize this last one, which is the reinforcement learning. This reinforcement learning is actually differentiating the artificial intelligence or making the artificial intelligence as a differentiating factor. Why? The reason is that in supervised learning, we need data. In unsupervised learning, we need data. But in reinforcement learning, we don't need data. The artificial intelligence agent is actually interacting with the environment directly and learning from the mistakes, from the moves. So you can see from these videos that we have copied on this slide. So you can have a robot that is actually trying to have a sprint or trying to cross these obstacles, but learning on the way how it is doing. This is just an animation, but this fairly gives you how the current robot systems and the autonomous cars and all those, they are all using the reinforcement learning. It's a new, actually, I mean, it's not new, but their applications are now coming in the limelight. And actually, this is how we are actually teaching the agents to interact with the environment. Now, I want to give an example over here. What is reinforcement learning? So for example, you have the security system. For example, you have a SIEM system. I think all of us know the security information and event management system. So security information and event management system is a type of system that is a manager solution. All devices are sending their logs to the manager, and the manager is actually have a set of correlation rules. So for example, IBM QRadar as a SIEM solution is actually deciding when to generate an alert and when not to generate an alert. So now we have a set of rules. We all know that QRadar has a language in which all these rules are written, and whenever the logs are coming, they are actually passed through the rules to decide this thing. Now these are the predefined rules. If we want to have a reinforcement learning agent that interact with the environment, what is the environment? The logs that are coming. And what is the agent? The agent is actually the QRadar system. And learning from the environment through the logs that what exactly is a security breach, or what is a false positive, or what is a false negative solution. That is actually the reinforcement learning. When you are actually having your agent to interact with the environment and learn as you progress, rather than you have a full data available in the machine learning and in the supervised and unsupervised learning. One more thing which I want to mention over here, that now the artificial intelligence cannot be used without machine learning. So reinforcement learning is a fact, but on the back they have multiple techniques. So they use unsupervised learning, supervised machine learning, and deep learning as well. So I just want to go back on this slide. This is actually a kind of an amalgam. So you can have the artificial intelligence as a full subset, and then you also have the machine learning as a subset of artificial intelligence. This means like the artificial intelligence is a bigger subset, and then the machine learning and deep learning are coming as part of artificial intelligence. So many companies in the deception, even if they are using machine learning or deep learning, they always say that they are using artificial intelligence. But one subtle difference which I want to make over here, that artificial intelligence means decision making. You are able to make a decision just like human, yes or no, or you can actually try to relate something. So you say that these are two apples and these are two oranges actually. So if you can decide something, that is the main thing in artificial intelligence. So let me move a bit quickly as well, because I think I've taken more time in the start of the presentation. AI-enabled deception. AI-enabled deception means that you are interacting with the attacker. So the aim is to increase the adversarial engagement time in order to provide much information by using adaptive cognitive model and intelligent decoys. I just gave you an example. I mean, all of us know about SSH. SSH is a premier way of accessing a Linux machine on the cloud. So what we have done is that we have actually a proxy. There is a very popular high interaction decoy called Horn SSH. We actually modified the agent, and we have now our AI agent actually that is sitting and interacting with the attacker. So for example, if the attacker is attacking a MySQL database on a Linux machine, we are sitting in the middle, and actually our agent is actually replying similar the picture that is given over here. So you have an attacker, and then you have the AI agent that is interacting with the attacker. We already have discussed the AI contribution and deception as well. Deception infrastructure, decoys and deployment, scalability. Now, AI-enabled deception infrastructure. So particularly we see the in the deception infrastructure, we see the layers. So we have two perspectives. We have the offensive perspective and the defensive perspective actually. Offensive mostly means that you have layers in the form of phishing emails. So PhishRod is a very popular solution built by a Pakistani company. So their solution is a kind of offensive. They try to lure the attacker. Similarly, we have the defensive mechanism. So we trap or deceive the attacker. In this presentation, we will be focusing on the defensive perspective only. So features of the intelligent lure files. So what we do is that in the lure files, we have the fake PDF, we have the fake PowerPoint, and we have the Apple, and we also have the we try to match the expectation of the attacker as well. So try to increase the believability. Intelligent lure file would mean that we have automated deployment of the lures as well. So for example, if we have a production system, we try to put the lure inside the system through the artificial intelligence or through the reinforcement learning. We also try to track the documents. We integrate this system into the cyber deception products as well. And also we have the reporting and alerting mechanism that is part of the intelligent lure files. Now, just looking at some of the solutions that are available. So for example, Decoy Docs by Ativo, they have this kind of UI, and they have the fake documents that they have created and spread inside the network. And then they have the beacons in those files as well. So if somebody stole a PDF, it can be easily located where exactly that file is at the moment and on which IP it is residing. We also have the lures from TrapX, their solution called Deception Tokens. They also have kind of the same lure solution that is available. Federalists also have lures and breadcrumbs as well, but they don't focus much on the document security. TrapDocs is another company that is providing the document security with the help of the lures. So TrapDocs are actually, I think this one and the Alcalvio is the only one which is using the artificial intelligence for creating lures. Their AI engine uses the structure, authorship, and content of the nearby files to create honey files. So for example, you give your organization original document to an AI engine, and that AI engine is actually creating fake documents. And currently in our lab, we are working on a project to build the same AI engine that is able to create fake documents. We also have the Shadowplex from Excalibur as well, and they have a technology called fluid deception that they are saying that it's a patented technology, and they are using the data science, the machine learning driven way to automatically present attacker lures, baits, and breadcrumbs. Content believability is very important. So highly believable and versatile lures are being in use industry, and AI has a very major role in creating highly believable and versatile lures. Secondly, AI have contributed a lot in the aspect of creation as well. So how you want to create, you have to learn from the existing documents. And also AI will also look for environment changes as well. So for example, the lures will not be static all the time. They can be dynamic as well. So you can change them as the time progresses or the network communication on your network actually changes. Placement is another aspect that is very good in the context of artificial intelligence. And also you can have the engagement as well. You try to engage the attacker as much as you can. I'm just glancing few of the slides that I've already talked about. Deception orchestration, that is a very important aspect. We have multiple tools available with us for orchestration. We know Ansible, Puppet. These two I have all used by myself as well. For containers orchestration, we have the Kubernetes. We have the other Red Hat, I think, also have a Kubernetes version as well. I don't exactly remember the name, but those are used for the containers orchestration. Now, the point here is that what is meant by this, by the orchestration? Orchestration means that you orchestrate your decoys in a way that you take the attacker from the production environment to the VLAN or to the network that is hosting your decoys. So threat arrangement is the process of is the process on every step of kill chain. So we first of all, we detect the attacker. Second step is to engage the attacker and get the much information. And the third one is to respond and slow down the attacker. I have already discussed slowing down the attacker in detail in the previous slides. Now, what is the problem with the current deception orchestration? So for example, we have the high interaction or low interaction honeypots that are utilizing our resources. Gartner says we should have 10 decoys for one real system. So it's very difficult to maintain these deception systems as well. What is actually, this is actually the problem with the current deception. They are not separated from the production. So if they are not separated, for example, if you have a very privileged network, you have all the assets over there, and the problem is that you have the decoys inside there. No, this is a very alarming situation as well. So you have to place your decoys in a network that is not part of your production network. I just want to actually show you this figure. If you see, this is your sorry, production network, and these are your decoys. These are your projected decoys. Projected decoys means that those decoys will be actually mimicking the services that are actually available in your production. So what you do is that you actually take all these decoys. I mean, these dotted lines means that they are actually not present on this network. You create a software tunnel which is invisible to the attacker, and you take the attacker from the production system to the deception farm. So actually the decoys are actually over here. Now, how you create this environment, how you manage this environment, how you delete a decoy, how you check the health of a decoy, for example, this is all done with the help of artificial intelligence, with the help of machine learning. So for example, if I can create a scanner that is scanning the network and telling me what services are available in my network, and then just in time I create all those services in our deception form. So this will be actually an automatic way of creating those services. Similarly, we can use we can use the SDN as well, the software defined network, to create multiple VLANs over here, just to increase the attacker's believability that this is an actual network. Actually, whenever we bring the attacker over here, the attacker, whatever it is done over here, we are monitoring the attacker, but as well as the believability aspect is increased with the help of artificial intelligence. So features in deception orchestration, I told you, like, the orchestration is done easy and automatic with the help of artificial intelligence. This is actually how you have the logs that are coming. I mean, we have taken this picture from Kelvio again. You have all your anomaly detection logs and all other application logs as well. But these logs are very vague and bulky alerts at some point in time. And when we have the deception related alerts as well, that are coming in the SOC. So that is the point where deception is actually contributing to the strengthening of the security operations center. Deception deployment as well, as I mentioned, I mean, we can have the deception deployment fully automated with the help of machine learning, deep learning, and artificial intelligence. Now, future potential of the artificial intelligence in deception. I mean, my lab is actually hosting a project, quality attacker engagement as well. And I mentioned, I think, in the previous slides as well, that we are actually making a proxy. Behind the proxy, currently we have the Linux high interaction honeypot, and we are actually directly interacting with the attacker. So whatever attacker is asking from us, we are actually providing that information and trying to get more and more information from the attacker. Uh, we are actually gauging the attacker expectation and learning from the past experiences, and we are specifically using the reinforcement learning in our proxy service. This is a more a general diagram which is showing that what exactly we are doing in the quality profiling. These are more details that I think also present in the slides as well, and I would like to skip these slides. So that's end of the presentation, and now I would like to take some questions from this presentation. I hope I was able to give a fairly deep look of the deception and the importance of deception in cybersecurity, and also the role of artificial intelligence. I'm very thankful to all of you for being patient and also listening to this kind of boring presentation. So now if you can kindly have your chats. I have a lot of chats. Okay, so Sman, the first one was actually the what is your research on open source? So let me actually, sorry, I'm starting from the first one. Camera and disable it. How can we retain it valuable information? What is the solution? Okay, so Farhan has actually mentioned this thing that it is not against any cybersecurity principles, but I just mentioned this thing that, I mean, if you ask a security professional, they will block any attacker. I mean, this is what their job is, not to study the attacker, not to play with the mouse actually, right? There are solutions that I agree. There are TiVo, Smokescreen, Shadow Network was acquired by Fedalis. Yes, I was actually taking a look at a Gartner document. So they were mentioning the Amazon, sorry, the Microsoft Azure services as well, that they are creating fake logins and fake documents inside their cloud systems as well, in order to lure the attacker, in order to deceive the attacker. Okay, Adnan, good company. So we, like, as per my research experience that I've done on these companies, El Calvio is the market leader. El Calvio. TrapX is also a very old company as well, that is in the market from 2015. They have a unique solution for ransomware as well. Okay, that's fine. TrapX, yes, Symmetria is also elusive one. Okay. Okay, this was the question from Usman, that what is my research? My research currently, like, I have worked in cybersecurity in multiple domains, in trusted computing, starting from mobile security and then Android and then many other areas. Currently, I'm only focused on two words: artificial intelligence and nothing else. So I'm looking each and every application of artificial intelligence in cybersecurity. in deception solution, there is no open source solution in its entirety, which is available in the open source community. So you don't have a DDP, distributed deception platform, available in the open source community, right? But you have variety of honeypots as well. So you have, for example, MySQL honeypot, the Cassandra honeypot, multiple honeypots. I think more than 1,000 honeypots are available on a GitHub link. I can share the link just after the meeting. So all those honeypots are actually available, and those honeypots can be used in your deception form, where you can actually plan and orchestrate them. And we are actually using OpenStack. I mean, one of my students actually, they did a project on that as well. So they used the OpenStack for orchestrating the network. Similarly, we are using Kubernetes for orchestrating the containers. They are more lightweight than the virtual machines to act in our deception form. Okay. Okay, fine. El Calvio. Yes, this is the El Calvio. Adnan, you can have my email as well, masoom.alam@comsats.edu.pk. So I can actually give it to you. Yes, my LinkedIn profile was mentioned in the talk as well. So you can El Calvio. Yes, El Calvio. Okay, so Danish has a comment that with so much decoys in place, proper control have to be put. Yes, monitoring has to be very, very effective. Two types of monitoring. You have to monitor the attacker. I mean, we have the high interaction honeypots with us, and we have the MITRE attack framework as well for the mapping. So we exactly have the TTPs, the tactics, techniques, and procedures actually. So we exactly know with Windows, I think there are mappings available up to 70% of the MITRE attack framework, the total MITRE attack framework. The 30% are not available. And on the Linux, somebody has done 30% mapping of the audit D. So we are doing the mapping as well. We started with sysdig, but that project was not that productive. This is one of the point of the monitoring. The second thing is the health monitoring as well. I mean, you have to kill. I mean, you have to judge the time when it is the appropriate time to kill a decoy. So for example, the decoy in itself actually creating some problems for you as well. That's where the deception form concept comes, because earlier when you were having your deception system inside your production system, they can actually create a DOS attack on your production system as well. So you actually create a tunnel in a way. There is a very famous project, I think, on HoneyNet project. They have created a few virtual machines for creating a deception form, and they have actually configured the IP table rules in a way that the attacker comes in but cannot actually create a DOS attack from there. Yes, in my lab, no student is working on any research project, so we don't take research project from research papers. So all the projects that we are working on, particularly we are working on artificial intelligence enabled offensive security. So I requested Shehzad Subhani Saab as well that I can give a talk on artificial intelligence enabled offensive security with Metasploit. Metasploit, I think, I mean, every security professional, the first thing that he or she open an eyes So they look at the Kali Linux and the Metasploit actually. So how we can have the Metasploit with artificial intelligence? Yes. And that is the last question. That is the last compliment from Amir Jamil as well. I would like to give compliment to him as well, because I took a lot of information from Amir Saab as well as from Shahzad Subhani Saab as well. They were assisting me in getting a lot of precious documents as well. And I'm very thankful to the GISPP, actually the Pakistani Professional Society, that they are helping us to come forward and talk to all the people. So thank you very much. I think I must say all of you good morning and also good night as well. And thank you very much. I see you in the next talk, inshallah ta'ala. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.